I grew up in Naperville on Olson Lane, if you're It was a little tiny farm town back then. There was one high school at the time, Naperville Community High School, and that's where I was. My dad had been a Navy World War II veteran, all of my uncles, and my mother wished she had always gone in. My mother was, had gypsy blood or whatever, she wanted to travel. And I was very shy in high school, but I had a cousin that stepped on a landmine in Vietnam, and then our sociology teacher in high school, there were several kids in my class that had already pre-registered to go. As soon as graduation hit, they were off. And he brought in a couple Mormon, on their tour because they were not eligible to be drafted or go to the war. And that just triggered something, and it was like, my cousin's laying there in the hospital. He was in the hospital for a year. He, barely survived. And like, well, I'm gonna go check this out. And I still can't believe it to this day that I actually did that, as shy as I was. It was scary when the day came to leave. It's like, oh my God, what have I done? But I'm so glad I did. It was, life-changing, really. My father was very supportive. My mother was a basket case. And then after I went to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, and then I was stationed there permanent party for a year, and then I got orders and went to Taiwan for a year and a half. And that was just like, oh my God, the other side of the world. I recall that this was pre-Women's Lib, so when I actually enlisted, you had to do modeling poses. They had to see if you were, for the Air Force anyway, it might have been different in the Army, but you had to wear a dress, and they put a belt on you to see if you were proportionate, and the weight requirements. So I got sunburned really bad, and then found out that I was government property, and you better not be complaining. And back then, of course, you had to wear nylons, a girdle, and, it's like, oh, it's like pure agony, but it's like, don't complain, because you could get court-martialed or so they told me, for getting so sunburned. There was one other girl that left with me out of Chicago. She was, I think, even shyer than me. But yeah, you were in a four bunk beds to a room, and you only had 15 minutes to get dressed in the morning. So again, a lot of us wore those girdles to bed. I owe my varicose veins to the Air Force. But yeah, teamwork, because that's mainly what they taught you. It's like, what do you mean we got 15 minutes to be outside? What do you mean? And it was like, you will find a way. And I remember you had to lock everything up. You got in big trouble if you left a penny out or a postage stamp, because those were of value. So you got reprimanded for that. So it was just instilling you have to guard this stuff, and you have to look out for everybody else. Somebody's falling behind, running the track, slow down and help them, encourage them. So all stuff you take with you. I think the women come together. Y'all come together, and people were from all, one of my best friends in boot camp she was Canadian. She had joined the American Air Force. And we all came together, and I remember every night before, lights out, we all got in the day room and did the Our Father. And just, you helped one another. Some people were better at shining shoes, some were better at cleaning. And here, I'll take your shoes, you go wash the latrine. Okay. I think I was good at ironing. And we had one pair of pants. Back then, pre-Women's Lib then. We didn't wear pants, only for, doing latrine duty or whatever. And our work skirts had to be starched so much that they stood up by themselves. They were that chambray material. And then you had iron. You're going to see the world, and it's going to be okay, and you're going to grow, and you'll find friends, and it's going to be great. That it would be a way to get educated, and I would see the world, which I saw a lot of Texas, a little bit of Taiwan. But then actually, after my 4 years was up, I was out for a year or two, and I missed it so much, I enlisted in the Air National Guard and was stationed right here at O'Hare and retired from there. I went in right before Women's Lib. Like the only women that, to my knowledge, that went to Vietnam were nurses and morticians, where now it's like you're in everything. Again, I never shot a gun. We didn't do that. There's huge changes. I remember you couldn't have a baby. You couldn't be pregnant and be in the service when I was in. Yet when I was in the Guard, I had both my kids. You know, I had maternity. So that's a huge difference. It's, as a female, how we've come to have the rights and to be treated equal. Whereas we didn't have that. When I was born, you didn't have that. And now you do. When I was I never shot a gun. There was, you know, we didn't do that. It was like the females couldn't do that. It was alphabetical by your career field, you know. I really wanted to be a medic, but J through M, you're going to supply school. So you didn't get to pick like the women or the guys now. Taiwan was, I was stationed on a tiny, like a security base, a diddy-bop base, which means they eavesdropped. And I was supply support. We were on top of a mountain. I think the base was only about 6 blocks, the whole base. So there were only, I think, 25 females there. It was very small, but it was different. We did a lot of volunteer work. At a leper colony, we taught English every Tuesday night at an orphanage for the kids whose parents were in the leper colony. It was different though, because small group of women again. I could do that by myself. I went over by myself. I'd take a taxi down to Taipei and walk all over by myself, young and fearless. I guess being away from family was hard, but you made lifelong friends. I'm still really good, close to one of the girls that I was there with. So my grandmother especially was, you know, oh my goodness. And then in their mind, we were close to Vietnam, which, not that close, but we donated blood every 3 months because we could have plasma to go to Vietnam, since we were that close. I think everyone should do some sort of service. And there's nothing better than going in the military. It gave me my education. I probably would not have, my parents couldn't afford it to send me to college. So when I did come back, I went on the GI Bill and got my degree. So, and then I retired in the Air National Guard, so I benefit from a pension, health care, the shared experience. And no matter where I go, you know, if you talk to people, it's like, oh yeah, there's some lifelong camaraderie if any veteran, I think, is like, if I see somebody in a hat, I go up to them, it's like, hey, your Army, where were you? Vietnam, where were you? Pride that, hey, I did that, and they're doing that. I have a niece that was a Navy doctor. My nephew was a Navy pilot. So we have another nephew was in the Air Force. He's in cybersecurity. So we have a strong lot of veterans. Actually, the one woman I was in Taiwan with, she stayed in. She stayed in. And talking to her, and it's like, yeah, I really miss that. I miss it.
So what did you miss?
Just being a part of something bigger. The friendships, yeah. I missed it, which it was hard when I actually did retire because it was like, wow, I'm not part of that anymore. You learn so much, you know? Maybe if you want to be a pilot, this is a way to get there. You can't afford to go to school, college. This is a way to get it. Like my niece, she's an ER doctor now. She went to ROTC in college, and that's how she became a doctor. She doesn't have any student debt because she served. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. It'll change your life for the better. Find a way you can do. If it's your dream, you can do it. And just go for it. Just go for it. And think of the better good and that you're of service.